Hello, my lovely edge dwellers. Lucca here, Power Sorcerer, and you're tuning in to Ask Lucca Live, episode 29 on October the 3rd. I can't believe that we're at 29 already. So I'm on a couple minutes early here just to collect folks, make sure that everybody can find us. So feel free to say hello as you come on board. And for those of you who are watching in the recording, if you forward to about 2 minutes in, then you'll get our true beginning and not just the collection process. So that's just to keep you apprised. And I apologize for reflections in my glasses right up front, but there isn't at the moment anything I can do about that. So hi, Flora. And I'm assuming that I can be heard. Would be a very good thing. So if anybody can't hear me, I trust that my followers will let me know that I'm broadcasting silently. So I think we're all set to go. I'm going to pull a card for us. Hi, Marigold. Hi, Yvette. I'm going to pull another one of this is my trusty Truth Bomb cards. It's backwards, but it's Danielle Laporte. And I like these cards because they're a good jumping off place for interpreting things. So thanks, Flora, for letting me know you can hear me. So I'm going to pull one for today. Let's see what I come up with for today. This is neat. It says, update your preferences. Hi, Desiree. So for today, and if I remember, I'll come back to that at the end because I never know what it's going to mean until we've gone through the process. But update your preferences, which is a computer term, but so many great computer terms have an application in real life, like going online and about being focused. So all of that is good stuff. So update your preferences. We'll see how that plays out in what we get today. So I'm going to have a quick look at my clock here and see. I think we're ready to get rolling, and I assume that everybody else will come on board as I'm doing my introductions as I do every week. So for those of you who forwarded through this and are in the recordings, I'm Lucca, Power Sorcerer, and I do these channelings once a week from 1:30 until 2. And then I post the recording of it online so that anybody who can't be here in person, hi Desiree, will be able to catch it at a later time. So, and this applies if you ask a question and you can't make it. You'll still get your answer in the recording. Hi Pepper. So, I do this every week. I have pinned to the top of the group a few pointers around things to keep in mind as I'm doing the work. So I encourage you to have a look at those and read them through. One of the most important ones that's on there is that your gut feel about what's right for you is more important than anything anybody can tell you. And that includes me. So never give your power away to someone else. And if I tell you anything that doesn't quite make sense, then I encourage you to put it in a holding tank and wait until you get some validation, confirmation. It might become in the form of a synchronicity or something like that, where you'll know. You'll just know. You'll think, oh, okay, now I get that. I've had people come back to me years later. In fact, I just had a message this morning from a woman I met in San Francisco in 1996. And I did a reading for her then about her son. And it turned out to be true all these years later, and her son has just passed away. And so she's wanting to connect so that she can find that connection with him on the other side. So sometimes I have to wait that many years for it to come about, right? So she said it gave her great comfort when she was in the process of losing him, and gives her some comfort now, obviously. Otherwise, she wouldn't be getting in touch with me. So that's really neat. Hi, Justine. So I will come back at the end of the session for about 5 to 10 minutes and tell you a little bit about the services that I offer and how you can avail yourself of those services or find out more, chat with me more about it if that is of interest to you. So I don't put it up the front because many of you have worked with me before and you already know this. or you don't need to know. So you can't opt out if I'm doing it now. So I put it at the end. So you'll see me doing this and this. That's my body being a pendulum. I'm getting yes and no answers about, do I start here? Do I share this? Do I share it in this way? Do I share it now? All of that. So it's like my navigation tool, my sat nav inside me. And you'll also see me looking off out into space or closing my eyes, and that's the packages of information come through that way. And then I pick it up and I tell you, and then I wait, and another package comes through. So here's my questions that I've collected for today. One of them is left over from last week from Yvette, and I see that Yvette is here. Hi, Kate. I don't think I've seen you on here before, so welcome. So this is what Yvette said. I'm still on the way to meet my man, and the man I have just let go after dating him for a couple of weeks was just the stepping stone to my real soulmate. So am I? Am I still on the way to meeting my man? So let's see. What do I get here about meeting your? Yes, you're on your way to meeting your man. Was this latest guy a stepping stone? No, you did something for him. It was something about how you treated him. It might have been with respect or humor or something that he wasn't expecting and hadn't experienced before, and he needed to understand that was possible before he moved on to his next person. So that's what you were doing for him. You do a number of things in life that are of service. And so sometimes if you can't find the reason for something you're doing for yourself, it's because you're being of service to someone else. So you can just ask, and ask a yes/no question. It needs to be a yes/no question. And then like this, you can either do it with muscle testing like this, or you can do it with, falling forward or falling back, or whatever your muscle testing technique is, or even with a pendulum. Or I get it in my head. I get a clear yes or a no, and I get this too. So you can see me in the grocery store trying to choose vitamins and standing in front of the shelf going like this. People must think I really, really need my vitamins. All right. So yes, you will meet your man. You're open to it. Affirm it every day and then go about your business. Worrying about things, fretting at them. My guides keep telling me this over and over and over again. Just closes. It constricts the energy. Worry does this. It goes to the energy. And so now instead of having a channel this big to get information through and movement through, you've narrowed it down to about the size of a straw. And that's the opposite of what you're trying to do. So don't worry about things. Set your intention and then pay attention. And then get on with your life. Just get on with it and expect success. So have your date night dress picked out and put it in your closet and then enjoy your life. So that's all they're giving me. And there may be other pieces in here for you later on, but that's what I've got for you at the moment. Next question is from Melissa. Melissa says, I'm curious to know where I should be putting my energy in terms of teaching singing lessons. I have a vision of the space I'd like to teach out of in the future, but I'm wondering if I should be focusing my energy on finding that space or building my online teaching presence. I got this information right as I was writing it in here, was copying and pasting it, and I was getting this information already. Do both. There's nothing that says that you can't do both. If the business isn't coming in yet, then you have time to do both. It's not the right time, timing-wise, it's not the right time for you to be choosing a spot or paying for it or doing any of that for where you're going to do it live. In person. You can do it in a park. You can do it in a public space, as long as you've got enough room to spread people around. But start, if you can't, like I'm doing it with Ask Lucca Live, just start doing it online. Get it moving, because it gets the energy moving, and the energy is what's attractive to the people who are going to come and do it with you, whether they do it online or otherwise. So there's a guy in England who's been doing this. He was, we had some of the programs about him, and he was doing it in schools. and we had some of the programs on Knowledge Network, and they were great programs. And then, of course, the whole thing just dried up because he couldn't go into the schools. So he did this. I think it was called the Great British Choral Singing or something like that, but it was online. And he was doing it every day online at the beginning of the pandemic, and all these people, he was teaching all these people how to sing and create this choir, and it was Highland. It was absolutely amazing. So that's what they're saying to you is do it, just do it. Singing yourself, singing in your house, singing in your shower, singing when you're in the grocery store and walking along the street, singing online, sing anywhere you can sing, because it will attract all the other people who need to be attracted to singing right now. So that's from Melissa. The next question is from someone who wants to remain anonymous. Anonymous says, I'm worried about my son who has autism. He's self-injuring by banging his head. The pediatrician wants me to give him antipsychotics to treat his aggressive behavior. I want to find a more natural way of helping him. What is the best way to help my son? What I'm picking up about this is that there are times when the allopathic medical profession has just the tool for us. So if you're depressed, sometimes you need to take an antidepressant just to even yourself out so that you can get in, you live your life and you can get in and you can do the help with a counselor, a therapist or naturopath or whoever it is to try and clear that up. And there are other times when it isn't going to be helpful. One of the things that you can do with your son is help him to muscle test, because I think he can do it and you can do it with him. So you can be a surrogate for him. So you tune in, set your intention that when you muscle test yourself, that you're doing it as a surrogate for information for him, and then ask your questions and make sure you ask yes, no questions, and then you're going to get clearer answers. And you can do it by process of elimination. You can narrow it down. So you can say, if you're talking about a drug, you can say, is it appropriate for me to give him this drug? Yes or no. Is it appropriate for me to give him this drug right now? Yes or no. Is this the appropriate dosage for him? So you can see how and you need to be very specific, and you can build yourself a picture that way. So that's one of the things that you can do to help him. And even if he can't participate in that because of whatever's going on for him in that particular moment. Also, watch for patterns. The self-harming comes, like watch for dates, watch for weather, watch for changes in barometrics, like watch for so you got to be, and not out of worry, but out of curiosity. What might be happening here? Has he eaten anything? Because there may be some things that aren't the cause, but they exacerbate it. And anything right now is important for you. In terms of figuring out what it is that's going on for him so that you can help him out, because you don't want him to be in pain. And when you're the parent, when your child is in pain, you're in pain. So I think that's what I'm getting for the time being. And if you want a little bit more information about asking yes, no questions in muscle testing, then get in touch with me, and I can I have some tools that might be helpful to you. Next question is from Jenny. Jenny says, and Jenny had a really long, she was doing her stream of consciousness to try and figure out what it was that she wanted to ask me. So I've gone through this and I've pulled out just the key pieces for you, Jenny, to answer your question as best I can. And I assume that the rest is just background information for me. So Jenny says, the last 4 years, I've had so much intuitive push to follow sound making and music as a way to focus my energy and help lift the vibration here on earth. Why am I stuck fighting the presumption that singing is now the most dangerous thing that you can do in a group when I know it to be the most healing? Any insight on how to proceed? So this one is very similar to what I said to Melissa. You want to get the singing happening. So do the singing online until you can do it in person. You can do one-on-one coaching with people singing. You can do it with groups. You can do it with one on Zoom, and you can have breakout rooms, as this guy in England did. I've forgotten his name now, but if I find it, I'll put it in the comments afterwards. But he was doing it. He had breakout rooms, so he could send all the sopranos to one room, and they would interact with one another and practice their part, and then he'd get the other ones together, and then he'd get them all to sing together. So we have to start thinking outside the box. So this is not wasted. If your guides are telling you and your higher self is telling you that you need to use music, then you need to use music. And absolutely, there's no time when this is more important than right now. So, it isn't a presumption that singing is dangerous as much as it is a fear of the unknown. So this is where we have to have compassion for everybody, because they're not terrified of singing. They're terrified of the unknown, and they don't know how this is spread. I mean, we know, but we don't know. We don't even know what we don't know right now. So what they're saying here is, try all the ways where you can get people together and still have enough distance between them. Voice carries. And voice carries online. So use this medium as much as you can. It's not the perfect medium. It's not going to be the place you want to stay forever, but it gets you started. So what a lot of us are doing right now is we're cobbling together the best way we can for the time being. And you can see things are moving at breakneck speed. So it won't be too long before we come out on the other side of this. And then we're going to have to build on what we've already done while we've been sitting in this place. So sometimes it's building awareness. Sometimes it's building other people's awareness of us and who we are and where we are and what we have the potential to do with them, so that when everything moves and you hang up your shingle and you say, I'm getting everybody together now in person, they'll say, oh yeah, I did that with her online. I want to be there with her. Okay, so I think that's giving you your answer, Jenny, that you need, bearing in mind that it's for a finite time frame here. So Pepper wants to know, I'm wondering if something happened to me as a child that my memory repressed. I remember very little of my childhood, and a hypnotherapy session showed me something that maybe our guides can confirm or deny. This is something I come across a lot. And when our memory doesn't come through for us, then how do we know if we can trust this information or not, right? Part of it is, and I went through this back in the 90s. I went through this experience. I didn't realize that there was anything in my past, but I knew that there were certain things that were triggering me. And I went through a particularly difficult, triggered time, and I began to wonder. So I vocalized it. I said, I wonder if maybe something happened to me when I was young. And what if something did, what age might I have been? So where does it feel like this dysfunction gets stuck? And what was happening to me at the time was I was living with I had a partner at the time who had a child who was at that time 5. And I now know that I was 5 when I came out of the abuse that I experienced. So she was triggering me just because she was the age that I was when I buried it. So we get triggers. So instead of thinking that we're crazy, we can go in and look at it and say, okay, if I'm getting triggered right now, let's note all the details we can about these triggers, because it'll start to build a picture for us, and then we can see if we can trust it. And then finding a practitioner to work with whom you trust is also really important. So some psychotherapists can help you to get it out in the open and work with it. Sometimes the psychotherapist needs you to find it on your own, like to even decide if it's worth going to the therapist to work with it. So I know there's Jen, who is part of this group. Jen Ellis is a hypnotherapist, and so she can she can help you to go back in. I don't know if she's called, I think she's got therapy in there somewhere. But anyway, she's trustworthy. So you can go in. Now, if I go into your guides for information about this pepper, I get, yes, there was something. When you look at it now as an adult, it's not going to seem as scary as it seemed when you were a child. So it was the child part of you that put that away and said, we're closing the door on this and we're locking it and we're throwing away the key. There is still a key. There's always a key. One of the reasons why it feels big is because it is a replication of something that happened in several other lifetimes. And I say past tense, but really it's all concurrent. It's like radio stations all broadcasting at the same time. So your point of being able to heal this is here in this lifetime because we have the openness and the tools to be able to do it here in this lifetime. So that means that it feels bigger here and now with the experience that's connected to this lifetime so that you have the ability to work on it than it actually is for what's in this lifetime. So just know that it's been magnified a little bit because it's connected into a few other lifetimes. And Pepper Camilla is a great person to do it with. And then you might want to, I don't know if Camilla works with what comes out of the session afterwards, but there are some great counselors out there who can, and different techniques. I might have some names for you, but if you don't have your own already. So that's, yes, it's there. It's not as bad as you think it is in terms of what it will be like if you allow it to come up and you can work with it. It's not pleasant, but you're not living it anymore, right? Unless you go back and you relive it. But in terms of it's coming up as symptoms and you don't know what to do with them. But from your place here and now, you can do the healing. Your guides are saying, yes, time is right. You have the ability. You can go in and do the work and get it cleared up. And not just in this lifetime, but in other ones as well. So Crystal says, I have so many questions for all areas of my life, to school, to sell my house, to move, to sit still, how to get a handle on my ailing health, my ailing relationships, so many. So my singular question is simply, what are my best next steps? Well, the ailing relationship is where a lot of the other problems are coming from. So sometimes you have a little, you like grain of sand in the oyster, but sometimes it's the little bit of infection, and then your whole body rises up to respond to it. So Crystal, I would say ailing relationship is what is connected into the ailing health, and so I'm just checking in here because I do know a little bit about your situation. I don't want to be going from what I already know. I want to go from what am I getting today. So, okay. So, Crystal, it's time. You have given the relationship person so much rope. Hi, Bev. And I would say it's time not to cut the rope. It's time to cut the rope. Everybody comes to a place in their lives where they have to, as they said to me last week, fish or cut bait. It's like you've given this person so many opportunities, and so now it's time to say, I'm done. I'm taking my energy, my focus, my support, and I'm moving it somewhere else. It's not that I don't believe that you can change, but right now you are not changed enough for you to be healthy for me. So at some point you get to look around at what's going on in the rest of your life, and you get to say, this is poisoning everything else in my life. And that is not healthy. If it weren't doing that and you were still able to cope without detriment to the rest of your life, then you could give it a little bit more time. But my sense is that once you get that one solved, the rest of them are going to look clearer for you, and it'll be easier for you to figure them out. So that's the short answer to your question. And then muscle testing and like all of those things, you can go in and use all of those too to get more information for yourself about what's going on in this situation. Next question is from Nina. Nina says, I'm frustrated and scared about the progress of my business. Seems like no matter what products or designs I come up with, I invariably have to fall back on my film industry job in the winter months, which I don't love. Is it to be the same this year? Is there a way out of this pattern? Or should I just start appreciating the fact that I have that reliable thing to fall back on? What they're saying to me in this year, so it's my right year, is that everything is going to change shortly. We can't even imagine the amount of change that's going to happen. And so what has been the same pattern over and over and over, we're looking at patterns changing all over the place right now. And that means that there's the potential for this to change as well. All you can do is keep pushing the Jenga block that moves. So with your other projects, if they move, then continue with them. And do, just keep them going, keep them rolling along. And if you have to go to something else to get a reliable income, then that's where you need to go for a reliable income. If you're supposed to shift your income to somewhere else, that reliable income will either dry up, or you'll get to the place that I just said that Crystal's at, where you say, nope, this is tainting everything in my life. I have to cut it out. And you cut it out, and then there's space for something else to come in. But one of the things that so many of us are dealing with right now is that we think because things aren't moving, we think we must be doing something wrong. We're taking more responsibility, and it's not a bad thing to take responsibility for your life, but we're taking more responsibility than actually belongs to us. And so when that happens, no matter how we change things, it doesn't work. And then at some point, something will shift. And sometimes it comes out of the clear blue. We overhear a conversation. Somebody walks up to us on the street and says, oh my God, I haven't seen you for years. What are you doing? Like, you never know what it's going to be. But when it comes along and everything moves, you say, oh, this is what I wanted it to feel like this. This is what I was waiting for. And then you can look at the situation and see that you could not have made it come sooner. And so that's your advice to yourself in hindsight is, don't worry so much about things when they won't move, because when it's the right time, it'll move. So I'm giving you that advice ahead of time. So you don't have to wait until it moves to know that make the best of what you have right now, right? So like if business isn't coming in, do it online. Because for the price of the price of your computer equipment and your online connection, you can do that. Do help the people you can help. Do use the skills that you have that you love to use, because it makes you feel bright and shiny and useful and part of the world and of service, or creative, or whatever it is that you're doing. Do it with whatever you can get your hands on, and reach out to community. We're discovering at this time just how important it is to have community, and to, maybe you've got art supplies in your cupboard that you're not using, and somebody else needs the art supplies, but you've got something else that somebody else needs, that you can turn it out and put it out on Facebook or wherever your social media takes you, and say, does anybody need this? Put it out on the sidewalk in front of of where you live, and say, I've got free. Take it away. There's ways, all kinds of ways to do that online, to give things away for free. There's one called Free Cycle Vancouver that, I got rid of my printer that way. I wasn't using it, and there was somebody who needed it for their kids' school projects, and they came and got it from me with the ink cartridges that I had that I wasn't using, and they were so grateful. So look at yourself as a valuable resource until things move, and then your resources will be the muscle of that resource is going to be in good shape. So that is all of our questions for today, and it brings us up just about on 2 o'clock. So I'm going to come back to this card here, update your preferences. So I think this is a reframing one about what preferences are we talking about? Is it our preferences in terms of mates, partners, love of our lives? Is it our preference in terms of how we want to feel every day when we get out of bed? Are any of you dragging yourselves out of bed and feeling like what you're going to every day is not what you want to be going to? Is your preference to shift your patterns of your life? Like, is it that you are you a night person and you've never been able to be a night person because you've had a job and now the job's gone? Now you can be a night person and try it out for a while and see how it is, right? Or a morning person or whatever it is, right? Have you wanted to learn a skill that you didn't have time to learn, but somebody around you can teach it to you, maybe online? So what are preferences in terms of how we want to feel, how we want to interact in the world, what skills or gifts or talents we have that we want to be using? How do we want to experiment with how we are in the world? Do we want to start, going down to our local cafe and talking to people when we're a person that hasn't done that very much before in their lives? Would you like to experiment with having a pet so what are your preferences? Do you patterns? I could say preferences, but preferences in terms of how you do things, what you do, why you do it, when you do it. Those are all things that we can start looking at in terms of what our preferences are, so that we can reboot and say, well, is this still the way I want to be? I just put a new operating system on my Apple computers over there, and it means that I'm having to learn how to use my apps differently because it was a pretty significant update and they had a lot of problems with it, and I think they've pretty much solved them now because that came out last spring. So I'm having to go and learn how to do it differently, but it's juggling me out of my regular patterns. And that's not a bad thing. It rewires our brains, but also our whole neural system, our whole pattern system. It's like when you take a different route to get somewhere, sometimes you notice different things because you're not just seeing it as a matter of habit anymore. Hi, April. April, we're just finishing up, so you can watch this in the recording. So I will be back again next week. Next week will be episode 30. And again, it went from 1:30 until 2. You can get your questions to me by noon on Saturday and you can send them to me anytime during the week because I just have a running list here and I just keep adding them to the list. So I'll be back. At the moment, I'm planning on doing this until New Year, unless I get advice from my guides to do it otherwise. That's what I'm doing. My rate structure has shifted, which means that there's only one service that I have a fixed price for, and that's my Ping mini readings, which are $30 for 15 minutes. And those are ideal if you just need a quick in and out question asked. So people will come to me and say, should I take this apartment? Or I'm getting out of this relationship. Should I do it now or next week? Like that kind of thing. It's ideal for those. It's not so ideal for the meaning of life ones because, of course, those are more involved and take longer. For all my other services that you can find on my website at powersorcerer.com, SOURCER, all of those services, you can talk to me about what you can afford, because I would rather be offering my services for less money or money paid in a different rhythm or over a longer period of time or whatever it is, or through barter or whatever, than not using my skills and not being able to share my services. So you tell me what you can afford that doesn't prevent you from putting food on your table and a roof over your head, and we'll work it out. So I have two kinds of services. One of them is doing readings. So I have the Ping mini reading, which is 15 minutes. I do an hour-long reading, and I do reading circles at the moment I'm doing online. And you can find out the details about all of those either by having a chat with me. You can do an exploratory session and those can be booked through the booking page on my website. But you can also look on my website, and it explains what all the different kinds of readings are and how they work. And I do also teaching and coaching, niche coaching around how to hear, honor, utilize, work with your intuitive abilities. So I do one-on-one coaching, and I also have I'm just trying to get enough people together to do a group online called Power Circles. And if you want to know anything more about those, then you can book an exploratory session, free, no obligation, where we can talk about this and see what fits best for you. So those are the things that I'm doing. Plus, I'm doing this because I want to keep my hand in and also give everybody an opportunity to feel how this works and how to take some of this information and sew it into your life. And I'm starting to put a few more posts up in the group. And so you can all, because you're in the group now, in the Ask Lucca Live group, you can invite people to join the group as well. So I thank you all tremendously for being with me here today. It's my great pleasure to be able to do this with you, and you're coming and asking me questions gives me the opportunity to do that. And if you have any thoughts about this or any comments that you'd like to leave me as testimonials in terms of what this might have done for you, how you might have found it useful, I'm always collecting those. I'm redoing my website with Flora, and we put testimonials into the website. So as the more up-to-date testimonials I can get and switch them out over time, that's always wonderful for me as well. And I'd just like to hear how you're doing with all of this. It was like such a thrill to hear from this woman this morning that I haven't spoken to since 1996. So I'll get back to her this afternoon. I post the recordings of these, I post them on MeWe. I had a glitch last week. Facebook didn't let me download this onto my computer, so I couldn't put it on YouTube last week. But I did put the link onto Instagram and Facebook. And I couldn't. And I think I put the link also on MeWe, but I couldn't put it up on YouTube because you have to have the actual footage. I'm talking about it from film days, but I couldn't put it on YouTube, and that's the second time that's happened to me. If anybody knows why that happens, I thought I had done something wrong the first time. That when this happened last week, I was very careful with it, and I didn't have the option even to download it onto my computer. So I don't know what was going on with that. Maybe it's a Facebook glitch. I don't know. Maybe some of the others of you are finding the same thing. So that's so you can find me, and also all the previous sessions they're all in our group. They're all on there still. I haven't taken any of them off, so you can go back. And watch any of them or share them with any of your friends. So it's all there, and they're all labeled, which episode number and which date is all on there. So thank you for being here today, and until next time, remember, you too can speak intuition.